to East Coast DNA. Today we have Lisa Richard.
Absolutely.
That was pretty big assumption for me. I was like, oh, I forgot to check. But there you go. I nailed it.
Did it. You nailed it.
So it's actually Dr. Lisa Richard. So
it is.
I should have got you to come here in person. Maybe you could check the positioning of my chair and stuff, see if I'm doing any permanent damage. I believe you're a chiropractor, is it?
I am a chiropractor, and I have helped many musicians over the years.
I can imagine.
Be able to keep up with their craft.
So kind of feeding off the fact that you are set up in the Halifax area as a chiropractor and you're a musician off to the side, it seems like off to the side must take up quite a bit of your time.
It does. So I was working full-time as a chiropractor up until 2015. And so I've been working part-time now as a chiropractor because music was taking up a significant amount of time, which I don't call it work. I call it, that's my passion and absolutely love it. So, chiropractic is certainly something that I love as well. And I love helping people. And I am serious. I have helped a lot of musicians over my time. But once I started playing more shows, I was getting into 50, 60 shows a year and traveling, Europe, US, and then here in the East Coast. It was tough to keep up working as a chiropractor full time. So I had to make a choice and give up part of that to be able to continue with where music is going right now. And but that kind of slowed down with COVID, of course.
Yeah, for sure.
Unfortunately. So I'm still practicing part-time because music creation didn't stop during COVID. I mean, we kept writing and getting my album ready because my first album came out in 2017 and the next one was supposed to come out in 2020. But again, thank you, COVID. That did slow a few things down. But we kept on trying to get things together. And so it finally came out May of 2022 this year. And I'm still practicing part-time trying to get all this stuff done. So thanks for having me on your show. I'm so excited about meeting you guys. Am I going to get to meet you?
Oh, yeah. I'll be there in person Thursday morning pretty early. So we'll be floating around. Good. We're in the Fleur de Lis room. If anybody's listening to this during the conference and the door's open, feel free to stop by and say hello.
Fleur de Lis. Perfect.
So one question I did have there too, as far as your background, I originally, when I first looked into a little bit of your background, I was having trouble pinpointing where you're from, but you're originally from New Brunswick?
I'm originally from New Brunswick, small fishing village called New Mills, which is close to Dalhousie. So if you know northern New Brunswick at all, that's close to Campbellton, Bathurst area. So my dad was a lobster fisherman, and I grew up, small fishing village of about 25, 30 people. And it's so far north that when I look out the window at my parents' home, I'm looking at Quebec. So I am right across from Quebec on the Bay of Chaleur. So that's where I grew up and started my singing career back then, getting a quarter to sing a song on the side of the road.
And growing up in that community, then that's like you say, you started that, and that was pretty young age, I believe. I did see a reference to an anecdote to that.
Absolutely. It's actually part of a song that I on my first album, Fisherman's Daughter. I had to write that one, and I tell a story about, my brothers. They always knew I had change in my pocket because I'm serious. I would get a quarter to sing whatever, right? And, cute kid, give her a quarter, she'll sing. And I do, and I did. And so my brothers, back in the day, you needed to have quarters to go to an arcade back then, right?
Yeah.
Dating myself a little bit. But yeah, so I always had a few in my pocket. So one of my brothers, which I never named, but I only have two, so you can guess which one it might be. So he would hang me upside down and shake me to get the quarters out of my pocket. Now my mother walked in on him one day and she caught him hanging me and shaking me up. And she said, "Let her go." And he did.
Oh, just dropped you flat out on the floor.
Yeah, I wasn't prepared. I might have been 7, 8 years old. He dropped me right on my face. And needless to say, he got in trouble that day. He did not go to the arcade. But I still have a scar to prove that that actually happened. My brother denies it to this day. But I always say, look, it's in the song, so it must be true. I put it in the
Yeah.
song. There, it's true. That's what happened. So
Yeah.
he hates it when I tell this story, right? But it is true.
So
I
is,
tell the story.
that means we can read into your lyrics that those are all true stories then. That's what you've
Oh,
confessed here. We'll have
honestly,
to dig through some of
uh,
that.
yeah, there's not too much that's fabricated in the stuff that I write. I mean, we may have to tweak it a little bit to fit what we're trying to do, but yeah, for the most part, it's there's a lot of journaling going on with my music writing for sure. It's a story, and when I put on a show, that's how we kind of develop the show from the beginning to the end. It's a chronological story of how and why I wrote the two albums that I did, and we just had our second sold out show at the Carlton last week, and yeah, it was absolutely magical. So I'm hoping to bring some of that magic to my showcase on Thursday night this week. Gosh, that's in two
Yes.
days.
I
Yeah.
see that. Which venue are you at? I did see it was Thursday
So
evening.
funny enough, I said the universe is really a funny thing. I'm playing at the Crown and Moose now. I've never showcase for Music Nova Scotia. I have showcased for the ECMAs, but I haven't done it with Music Nova Scotia. And I just thought it was very fitting that the very first venue that I'm going to play is called The Crown and Moose because Uniforms, which is a song that I wrote about people that saved my life when I was a kid. The story is all around me being in an accident in northern New Brunswick because of a moose.
That's
And
funny.
really, okay, you're putting me in a venue with the word moose in it. Okay, sure, why not? Just a funny thing that the universe does sometimes, right?
Yep. Yep. There's signs everywhere.
There's signs everywhere. I just thought that was funny. So yes, Crown and Moose, and I'll tell the story about the moose. I will play Uniforms that night.
And one thing I did see that's quite common in reviews, like outside of your press kit, I did a little bit of looking around, see what maybe other people were asking you and what other type of information was out there. And there's a lot of comparisons, and I'm aware that we've got all originals here that I've been looking over, but I'm aware that a lot of your career was earlier, especially would have been based on covers. And I did watch you perform with Vince Gill doing a cover of Jolene, which was pretty
Yeah,
cool.
yeah, definitely a story there for sure.
But your voice is what people seem to gravitate towards as far as what's unique about, like, you're playing country music, which we've actually had a few country artists on the last few episodes, but your voice is unique for your genre. There's a lot of comparisons to Cher. I did see that.
Yes.
One thing that I picked up on going back, not so much with some of your newer releases like the ones that you provided for us for the interview today, but when I went back to your 2017 album, Tangled Up, it was reminiscent for me of Linda Perry, like Four Non Blondes.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
well, I mean, it maybe lent itself a little bit to the style of the song itself because it's a little bit
Mhm.
of a rougher acoustic song. But yeah, that's the voice that I was picking up out of that was like a Linda Perry kind of a tone there because
I-
I do see the Cher comparison,
yes.
but maybe where I'm not a big, huge Cher fan, it doesn't pop to much front of my mind right away.
Well, and you know what? I've not consciously have developed that on purpose, but it just came out, right? And I try to subdue my shareness as much as I can. Not that there's anything wrong with Cher. My God, she's amazing. She's beautiful and extremely successful in a woman in business. But I've also been compared to um, a soulful. I don't know if you read this anywhere, but a few times some people have said I sound a bit like a soulful Anne Murray, which I take
Yeah, I saw
very seriously
that.
because a really cool story about that is we both went to UNB. We're
Oh,
both on the same because we both graduated from the same program at UNB. Back in the day, it was called physical education. I took it was kinesiology when I finished sports science, and so I remember coming out of one of my physiology classes at UNB, and they have all the pictures on the wall of all the graduates. And I remember coming out one day, and she just poked her face right out of right out of that picture. Anne Murray. I was like, wow, Anne Murray. Like, this is a long time ago, and I just didn't know that she went to school there, and I just thought that was so cool, that she was on that wall. And at the time, at that point, I wasn't taking music as seriously. I was still singing in a band and doing some things, but not thinking that I could make a living out of it at the time. I did it for fun and it was enjoyable. But I remember seeing her picture on the wall and I went, wow, I would love to be able to do what she does, or what she's done. And I'll tell you, in Nashville, you say Anne Murray down there, and she's a queen. Like, people love Anne Murray in Nashville. So to have anybody compare me even remotely with her, wow. So yeah, that's one that I can't quite get over because we have a little connection with the same undergrad, and I hope to meet her someday if I ever get the chance. I hope I do. But yeah, Cher is definitely still one that people hear. I get Janis Joplin sometimes from
Yeah.
people. And yeah, there's a few others that just aren't coming to mind right now. But Sugarland, the lady that sings for Sugarland, I can't Jennifer Nettles. Yeah, so people have said I sound a bit like her. So yeah, I'm not really. I don't mean to be all over the place, but I think it's partly because my music is definitely rooted in country, but
Mm-hmm.
you're gonna get a flavor of that rock pop style. You're gonna get a flavor of maybe a little bit of folk in there. There's a little bit of roots and blues. Yeah, it's there's a few flavors mixed in there, and that's just me because I grew up on rock with my brothers. I mean, they were into that, but then my parents were so into like Hank Snow and Dolly Parton and all these icons. I got both sides,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and I loved both sides. So for me to put out an album, I had to have both sides intertwined in there. And I feel with the first album, we got that in an acoustic way. And then this album, I was so happy to work with Jason Barry, um, and all the experience that he comes with, producing Dean Brody and Terry Clark and Michelle Wright and Charlie Majors. Like, he just comes with a plethora of experience, and took this next album to a whole another level for me and made me work for it. Yeah, I wrote a lot of music before we picked the 10 songs that are on there. So yeah, I have him to thank for that, for helping me guide me through that. But yeah, I'm so excited to come and play some of those songs for you guys this week at the showcase.
And typically when you've been on tour, one of the reasons it might have been a little bit more difficult for me to pinpoint where you were from too is because your first, like, 2017 album had a lot of attention in this, like, in Nashville, and you toured through the States and a few overseas places, I believe.
Yes, yeah, I did.
So then COVID happens and now you have a new album out. So I do see the shows at the Carlton selling out, and I mean, congratulations on that. That's an awesome venue. I do not get there, but I would love to catch a couple shows in the near future. It's awesome sound in there. So
It is.
and it means something if you're being asked to play there, because only so many people can play there. So it is nice to see that you're having some sold out shows. But I'm curious where you must obviously have built a fan base in the States, and they're remote from where you're based, and where
Right,
you're not originally from Nova Scotia.
right.
I'm proud that you decided to locate yourself here, but
Absolutely.
as a chiropractor and a musician with a fan base in the United States, I would say when I was younger, you would not have settled in Nova Scotia, because most people would think the money is some big American city, because that's where the population is and that's where the music industry used to go. But now that we can support ourselves here, what is, you can work remote as far as music stuff and then go out and tour, but you also yourself have the ability to really, you can make that decision. You could decide, well, I want to live in Nashville. I'm sure they have doctors down there.
They sure do.
So what is it that about Nova Scotia that makes you settle here?
That's a great question because it is where I chose over 25 years ago to settle because I remember coming here to visit and the music scene here just amazed me. I couldn't believe. I mean, growing up in a small northern town in New Brunswick, we didn't have that. I wasn't exposed to that. Then I went to Fredericton, and okay, so there's a little bit more going on there for sure. Enjoyed all that time. Then I go to Toronto to go to school. That's where I really got immersed into music more so. Um, Played with an original band there for 3 years. Did all the venues there, like the Horseshoe Palace, Lee's, or the Horseshoe Tavern, Lee's Palace, the Opera House, those places. And we were on breakfast television. We did all that kind of stuff. Um, the band would go to Europe 6 months of the year, and I was still in school, so I had to stay and finish what I was doing. So I got a lot of experience in Toronto, but I kept visiting Halifax. I had friends here, and I would come visit, and I just fell in love with the music scene here and the people. And so, yes, I could have went anywhere, and I did look as far as Australia. I looked at Newfoundland. I looked at a lot of places to go, um, but Halifax won my heart, and I don't think I could live anywhere else. But I don't mind touring and leaving for short periods of time. But Halifax is my home, and it's because of the music and the people. That's what it is. I just love it here.
That's awesome to hear. I'm sure that that sentiment is repeated across most of the people I've interviewed, and actually more recently, a few people were Nova Scotia transplants, and it seems to be common that people had visited at one point, and then as they got older, they were like, you know what, I think I just want to live there instead of visiting there. I can visit home.
Right.
So
And
that's nice to see.
about Nashville as well. Once I started going there, because I've been spending a lot of time down there the last 7 years. I mean, almost 3 months a year. And so when you say I have a little, fan base there, I mean, there's certainly some people who recognize my name because of some of the things that I've done down there. I'm very, very blessed to have someone that is able to book me at shows, and I get to tag along with people that are also very well known down there. So that's been part of the magic of me being able to go down there. It's the people that I've been able to connect with and who they're connecting me with. And as much as there's been a lot of push for me to move there, a lot before COVID, but even more so since COVID. So it's been tough to try to figure that out because I know there's a want there as well. But like I said, I'm still comfortable having this as my home base and being able to travel. That may change someday, but right now I'm happy being here, and I really don't see me being there full time. But I know I'm going to be starting to spend more time there again. I mean, since COVID, I wasn't able to go back. The last time I was there
Sure.
was November of 2019, and then I went on a tour with some people from Nashville over to Ireland, and I was in Ireland when COVID started. I just got back a month before everything shut down, and I was doing a little touring over there, and so yeah, that just shut everything down. I'm glad I got back here. And then I haven't been back to Nashville since until my album came out this year. And I went back in June of this year. And I really didn't know if I still had a place there because it'd been over 2 years. And you just
Sure.
don't know. People struggled there. I mean, they really didn't have a lot of the help that we got here. And especially in the music industry. Oh my gosh, they struggled. So I didn't know if there was still a place for me there. But I quickly found out that there was. People took me under their wing once again, made sure that I had everything I needed because I lost my luggage for 3 weeks. And yeah, it was a wonderful, wonderful experience. And I could talk the rest of the interview about what happened during that time. It was unbelievable. I will tell you one story
Yeah.
because I think some of your listeners might know what a 1937 Martin is. And so Ranger Doug is one of the people that I connect with, and I stay with him and his wife when I go down there, and he's part of the Time Jumpers who have played with Vince Gill for 20 years, and he's also been with the Riders in the Sky, who open up the Opry for the last 40 years. And so he knew I lost my luggage. I didn't have my guitar with me, thank God. I didn't travel with it. But he said, "Why don't you pick out one of my guitars to play while you're here?" And I said, "Oh my gosh, like that's so kind of you, but I just planned on renting one. Where can I get one?" And he said, "No, try this one." So he hands me this Martin guitar. And at the time I knew it was an older Martin, but I don't know what I'm looking at, right? I'm not that much of an aficionado. I have an idea, but I don't know. So I said, "Are you sure?" He said, "Absolutely. This is a guitar. It's meant to be played." And I did one strum with this guitar. At the time, I didn't know it was a 1937 Martin. And that's that. I've never heard anything like it. I've never heard an acoustic guitar sound the way it did. I've never played that old of a vintage guitar. It was amazing. And he let me play with that the whole time I was down there. Now, when I come to find out what that guitar was worth and what it was, uh, let's just say I did have handlers at one point guide me because of what it was actually worth, and some people would know what it's worth, and because I played at a lot of different venues, and some, I had to walk a distance to get from the venue to where I was going, park wise, and I had to have some people with me guide me to those venues because of what I had in my hands. I thought maybe it would be worth somewhere around $50,000, and but apparently, depending on the market, because and your listeners might be able to verify a lot of this too. Um, but because Ranger Doug owns it's a little bit valuable as well. But
Sure.
also the original owner, and he got it from the original owner. And I saw the papers, I saw everything. The original case, Doc Martin actually owned it.
Wow.
So Doc Williams, sorry, Doc Williams. I said Doc Martin. I said Doc Williams, who is an icon from back in the day in Nashville, was the original owner. So you can look up that story. So this guitar was worth a lot
Yeah.
more than $50,000, and he let me drag it around Nashville for 2 weeks, and I just couldn't believe it. I nearly fell off my chair. So there's pictures of that on Facebook. Um, I only told the story at one show because then I realized I better keep that, while I'm touring around. Just keep that to myself for now. But anyway, I'm out there now, and it's done. It's secure. I got to play it, and people enjoyed the story. And I'm hoping I get a chance to play it again. But after I knew what it was, I was a bit nervous taking it.
Yeah. I can imagine. You're almost better off not knowing until afterwards so that
Well,
you could just enjoy it.
that's exactly what he did. He didn't want to tell me what it was because he knew I wouldn't know exactly what the worth was. And Doug's the type of person that he was sincere. He's like, "It's a guitar, and it's not meant to be in a museum. It's a guitar, and it's supposed to be played.
Sure.
Play." Sweet,
Oh, that's
sweet man.
awesome.
Yeah. So that's one Nashville story.
So with all your connections down there, and you obviously, besides having people just professionally that you're networking with, you obviously have some people that you become acquainted with socially. Is there any chance that you're, instead of worrying about getting down to them and seeing if you have a place down there, have you done anything about making a place for them up here and dragging some of the Nashville players into Halifax? Because I'm sure there's a lot of people who would love to hear it.
Yeah, like a lot of them have been here, right? Especially Vince Gill. He loves it here. Um, I don't know if the Riders in the Sky have been here, but yeah, they know where Nova Scotia is. They know Halifax. Yes, there's definitely some interest in most of the people that I connect with down there. COVID certainly again slowed that down,
Sure.
but I hope that happens someday in the not too distant future. And I'll tell you, I'll be ringing every radio and TV news cast to let everybody
Oh,
know,
yeah.
because I'd love to see that happen. I'd love to see them come up here and share what they do in Nashville, because it's just an absolute blessing to be able to work with people that are at that level, and they make me better,
Yeah.
and it's great to be around people like that. and working again, like I said, with Jason Barry, all my guys in the band here, Warren Robert, who's absolutely amazing, Dana Westall, Scott Ferguson. I mean, I couldn't work with more amazing people here. I'm surrounded by a lot of good people right now. I really am.
And for anyone that is listening that's unable to catch you in Sydney, is there any upcoming shows getting, because I know that a lot of people getting into the winter slowing down, but where you're Halifax based, and if you can sell out the Carlton.
Yeah, I'm pretty busy from now till New Year's Eve. I'm just doing a solo show at White Point when I get back next weekend. So that's the 11th and 12th. And then I'm doing a full band show at the WB Speakeasy, which is West Brooklyn, just outside of Windsor. It's a new privately owned venue, and they bring in original artists to share their craft. Their sound is amazing. It's a great group of people. They're very attentive. They want to see original artists. And so I'm going back there for the second time. That'll be November 26th. And then I'm at Casino New Brunswick, December 3rd. And then I'm back at White Point again in December. And then we have our full band show again, New Year's Eve at Oak Island Resort. So there's a big package out.
Oh, wow.
For accommodations and a buffet meal. And then, of course, us entertaining you for the evening. So I'm pretty busy from now till the end of the year. And I think see a little bit of me on Christmas Daddies as well, I believe. I think.
Cool. That's awesome. Yeah, you'll have to stay in touch, and I don't know how many regular episodes we'll have out in that time frame for November, December. We're kind of burning through a lot of. We got a good chunk of Nova Scotia covered in the last couple of months, actually.
I love the name. I love it.
Yes, I have to give credit to Andrew, my co-host. He came up with the name for that, and we will.
Like, I gotta talk to these guys. I love this. This is good.
Well, thank you very much. I think for anyone listening and for yourself as a potential fan, coming out of Music Week, we're going to try to expand around and get back to some of the other provinces. We had touched on a couple in the earlier part of the podcasting, but not even sure if we're going to do seasons. We might just keep running and start getting out to some of the other regions. So definitely, if you're touring around and hitting other provinces like New Brunswick, keep us up to date with your shows and stuff so we can communicate that out to anyone that's listening in those regions too.
Fantastic. I would appreciate the help. I mean, getting the word out is what, is the biggest part of the whole business, is letting people know, right? So I appreciate everything that you guys do for artists. We can't do it by ourselves. It takes a huge village to do all this stuff. And so I thank you guys for doing this. Thank you so much.
Yes. Well, thanks for your time. And hopefully if you have a few minutes over the weekend, swing by the Fleur de Lis and stop in and say hello.
Oh, I will find the Fleur de Lis. It's Lisa Richard. I have to go find the Fleur de Lis. Absolutely.
Exactly. Good photo opportunity.
We're getting a selfie. We're doing it.
Perfect. Thanks again.
Hey, you're welcome. Have a great day.
Bye.
It's the smile of a newborn child. It's the ladybug that stopped on by. It's the kids that made it home that night. It's the stars that keep shining so bright. Make it all worthwhile. Baby, I've got news you can use. Jump around, dance and shout, let it all out. Be a little crazy. Baby, I got news you can use. Fall in love, push your love, buy a new truck. Stay up late. Baby, I got news you can use. News just for you. It's the years they celebrate together. First love that lasts forever. It's the hearts for all the lost souls and the ones that never let go of love. Here's to all of us. Baby, I've got news you can use. Jump around, dance and shout, let it all out. Be a little crazy. Baby, I've got news you can use. Fall in love, push your luck, buy a new truck. Stay up late. Baby, I've got news you can use. News just for you. slow it down. So jump around, dance and shout, let it all out. Be a little crazy. Baby, I've got news you can use. Fall in love, push your luck, buy a new truck. Stay up late, baby.